What if everything you thought you knew about good and evil was wrong? What if, in some twisted way, evil could actually be good? This provocative question has perplexed philosophers, theologians, and thinkers for centuries. It forces us to confront the uncomfortable reality that the line between good and evil is not always as clear as we'd like to believe. In moral philosophy, good-evil is a term that challenges our deepest ethical convictions. Take, for example, the concept of necessary evil. Imagine a situation where a whistleblower leaks sensitive information to expose corruption. The act of leaking classified information is illegal and harmful to some, yet it might be justified by the greater good of revealing the truth and protecting public interests. This raises a deeply complex ethical dilemma. Can an act of significant harm be justified if it leads to a greater good? Niccolò Machiavelli, the infamous political philosopher, would argue that it does. In his seminal work, The Prince, Machiavelli posits that rulers must often engage in morally dubious actions to maintain power and ensure the stability of the state. According to Machiavelli, the pursuit of a greater good can necessitate actions that are, on their face, undeniably evil. This ruthless pragmatism suggests a world where morality is not black and white, but a spectrum of greys. The idea of good-evil extends beyond the political realm and into philosophical discourse. Immanuel Kant, a towering figure in moral philosophy, vehemently opposed the notion that ends can justify means. Kant's categorical imperative demands that actions be universally applicable and respect the intrinsic worth of individuals. From a Kantian perspective, any action that treats people as mere means to an end, regardless of the supposed good outcome, is morally indefensible. This strict deontological view contrasts sharply with utilitarian approaches that might justify evil actions for greater happiness. John Stuart Mill, a proponent of utilitarianism, would argue differently. For Mill, the morality of an action is determined by its consequences. If an action results in the greatest good for the greatest number, it can be considered morally justifiable, even if the action itself is unpleasant or harmful. This consequentialist perspective opens the door to the idea that some evils can be justified if they lead to significant overall benefits. The notion of good-evil is also a central theme in literature and popular culture, where anti-heroes and morally ambiguous characters blur the lines between right and wrong. Think of Walter White from Breaking Bad. Walter starts as a high school chemistry teacher turned methamphetamine manufacturer, initially driven by the desire to provide for his family. His actions become increasingly reprehensible, yet viewers are left grappling with the complexity of his motivations. Is he a villain? Or is he a hero who has taken morally ambiguous steps for what he believes is a noble cause? Religious narratives also delve into the concept of good-evil. Take Judas Iscariot's betrayal of Jesus. On the surface, Judas's act is one of the most infamous betrayals in history. Yet this act leads to the crucifixion and resurrection of Jesus, which are central to Christian salvation. Could it be that Judas's betrayal, an act of profound evil, was necessary for the ultimate good? These examples highlight a disturbing reality: the potential for good can be found in acts of evil. This challenges us to reconsider our ethical frameworks. Are there scenarios where committing an evil act is not only justified but necessary? This question becomes even more troubling when we consider the psychological mechanisms that enable ordinary people to commit extraordinary evils. Social psychologist Stanley Milgram's infamous experiment on obedience is a chilling illustration. Participants were instructed to administer electric shocks to a stranger, with the shocks increasing in intensity. Despite hearing screams of pain, many continued when ordered by an authority figure. Milgram's study reveals a dark truth under certain conditions. Ordinary people can commit horrific acts. This phenomenon is echoed in Philip Zimbardo's Stanford prison experiment, where participants quickly adopted abusive behaviors in a simulated prison environment. These experiments underscore the banality of evil, a term coined by Hannah Arendt in her report on Adolf Eichmann's trial. Eichmann, a key architect of the Holocaust, appeared disturbingly ordinary. He wasn't a monster, he was a bureaucrat who claimed he was just following orders. Arendt's observations challenge us to understand how systems of power and authority can corrupt individuals, turning them into instruments of evil without overtly malicious intent. The unsettling implication is that the capacity for evil resides within all of us, waiting to be activated by the right or wrong circumstances. This realization forces us to confront the ethical boundaries of our actions. Can we ever truly justify causing harm, even if it leads to a greater good? Does the potential for good outcomes absolve us of the evil acts we commit to achieve them? As we grapple with these questions, we must also consider the consequences of normalizing evil for the sake of perceived good. History is littered with atrocities justified by the notion of a greater good. The Holocaust, the Rwandan genocide, and countless other horrors remind us of the dangers of this slippery slope. Ultimately, the concept of good-evil compels us to examine our moral beliefs and the context that shape them. It challenges us to resist simplistic notions of good and evil and to embrace a more nuanced understanding of human behavior. By fostering empathy, critical thinking, and a commitment to justice, we can navigate the murky waters of morality with greater clarity and compassion.